Hello, everybody. It is me, Demetra K, and I hope that you are having a great day. It is our Friday, although it is Thursday, which means it's our last day of the week. Unless something, spectacular happens and I need to pick out my afro and come on here. But nevertheless, the purpose of the Demetra K show is to promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with an emphasis on even, because we're great people, but we can always strive to do better. Like I said, big giant thank you, hello, and welcome to YouTube and Facebook. You are the other side of the conversation. Also, thank you to my very awesome moderators for holding down the comment section and everything that you do. Much appreciated. Today, we're going to be talking about Trump being slammed for his post about the good side, if you will, of slavery. Of course, we'll look at the post that he actually made, show you guys a video that he was asked about it. I think it was yesterday in the press conference, and I guess he tried to explain it or whatever the case is, and then we'll see a couple of posts from people who are like, wait a minute, okay? So anyway, let's see who's on here. Give everybody else a moment to come on before we get started. African Native, how you doing? Tracy, what is going on with you? You must have changed your name around, or maybe YouTube changed it back, because I can kind of see them regular a little bit now, the names. Let's see. Buck Horse in the building. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Diane, Mike Nice. Who else? King Noble, how you doing? Troy, hope that you're having a great day. Represented Judah, is that how you say it? How you doing? And again, y'all names are kind of doing different things. Renz, how you doing? Ernest, Arneva. Who else? King Charles. Laura, what's going on with you? Thank you. Lynette, how are you? Gina in the building. Pop, you're here early. And Jersey Rick and Texas Barabbas. Hope you are doing well. So yes, again, it is our Friday. I go live Sunday through Thursday, right? Because I chose Sunday because that's the day I originally started going live, like from way long time ago. So I just kind of got used to Sunday, and it seemed like it's a good slot, Sunday, 5 p.m. Central Time. So I said, you know what? I'm going to come on here more often, have a conversation with y'all, because what else am I doing? I mean, I have other things to do, but it's only an hour, right? Big Rich, how you doing? And the real Aaron Collins, how are you doing? So anyway, we'll go ahead and get started, and everybody else can catch up when they get here. As I know, a lot of times people don't get notifications and things like that. Anyway, so of course you guys know, I think it was 2 days ago at this point, President Donald Trump, he has his own social media platform called Truth Social, and he posts a lot of stuff there, I guess. And then people who follow him on Truth Social, they post different things, and I guess he posts on his other accounts, but they post the things that he says. Now, of course, you all maybe have heard a lot about him going through the Smithsonian museums, and the African American Museum is one of them. And he's going to have his lawyer, and I read the post, but he's been examining what should and should not be in there. It sounds like at one point in time, he had them take out the fact that he's been impeached. But then I guess the Smithsonian was like, okay, yeah, we're going to put it back because it's history, right? I don't think anybody's been impeached more times than him. So they put it back. So, Trump, he's going to personally have his people go in there and make sure it aligns with everything. And so this is what jumped it off, if you will. So he says the museums throughout Washington, but all over the country, are essentially the last remaining segment of woke. Y'all notice how they're using woke, and it does kind of sound like a slur, right? I guess being woke opposed to being sleep is bad. I don't know. So the Smithsonian is out of control, where everything is discussed, and discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was. It's like, well, what else are you supposed to be discussing about that, right? Is there a good side of slavery? Then he says, and how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been. It's like, whoa. And he says nothing about success, nothing about brightness, nothing about the future. We are not going to allow this to happen. And I have instructed my attorneys to go through the museums and start the exact same process that has been done with the colleges and universities, where tremendous progress has been made. This country cannot be woke because woke is broke. We have the hottest country in the world, and we want people to talk about it, including our museums. All right. So as y'all see there, that's really him, right? So again, you see how he uses woke. Of course, we know that the right wing and some other people, I guess, who want to be attached to that group, they have taken the word woke and turned it into something bad, right? You know, a couple years ago, people saying stay woke, stay woke. Childish Gambino, he's got a song, Stay Woke. That's not the name of it? Oh, yeah. My daughter, she's a Childish Gambino fan, so she's correcting me. But anyway, so stay woke, you know, was something a lot of people was using hashtags and a whole lot of stuff. And so that particular group of people took it and was like, okay, woke is bad. If you go woke, you go broke, right? We've seen a lot of companies go down because they were supposedly woke or too woke for the right wing. I guess maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so then he goes on under the highlighted part, says how bad slavery was. Like, so basically he's sick and tired of hearing about how bad it was, but it's like sick and tired of hearing about it opposed to what? How good it was? Because that's the other side of it, right? So that's why I put good side of slavery in the title, because it's like, well, what other side did you want to hear about, right? Like how bad it was? I don't know. Maybe if you're the slave master, there was some good aspects of it, like you got money. But if you look at it from the slave's point of view, I don't think anything was good about slavery, right? There was nothing good about slavery. Just want to make sure we are in line with that. And of course, he said some other gibberish about America being the hottest country. And it's like, dude, you almost 80 years old and you run around here talking about something is hot. Oh, that's hot. That sounds like something Paris Hilton was saying. Remember back in the day, she was saying, oh, that's hot. That's hot. So it is pretty hot here, though, especially in Houston. It's like 100 degrees almost. But anyway, let's take this down. So again, he was asked about it in a press conference, and this is that interaction.
They're insinuating that you are trying to change history according to your narrative. What's your response to that, and is there anything you'd particularly like to take a look at?
We want the museums to treat our country fairly. We want the museums to talk about the history of our country in a fair manner, not in a woke manner or in a racist manner, which is what many of them, not all of them, but many of them are doing. Our museums have an obligation to represent what happened in our country over the years, good and bad, but what happened over the years in an accurate way.
Okay. So as you heard there, he basically said we want them to talk about it in, we don't want them to talk about it in a woke manner or a racist manner, okay? So keeping in line with the African American Museum, I've never been, admittedly. I know people who have, and they said it's amazing, right? There's a lot of artifacts and things that were donated, but it sounds like a lot of them were sent back to their original owner per that of the Trump administration. But, you know, just to think about talking about the history. And again, that's not necessarily our history. Slavery belongs to them, right? That's American history. But he's, I guess, saying, learning about it and going to the museum and seeing it, it's too woke, right? I guess, I don't know what you're supposed to see in there that would illustrate slavery in the right manner. And then, of course, he said racist. And it's like, surely you're not attributing the word racist to Black people, because y'all know we cannot be racist, right? We do not have the ability to be racist. We cannot and do not control any other group of people in an adversary way, right? But so that was pretty interesting. Now, this is where a lot of people, and, you know, really kind of took him to task. And I could have been here forever and ever about the people who had something to say. But I took the liberty to just show you a few. Keith Olbermann, which I was like, really, what? He says, breaking, Trump thinks we've done enough remembering about how bad slavery was. If you doubted his racism and inhumanity, you can stop doubting it now. And then this guy here, Alex, which I really love, his tweet, he says, the party that says they ended slavery is mad. The Smithsonian says slavery was bad. Let that sink in. Then you got Brian Tyler Cohen down there. He says Trump is mad that the Smithsonian is talking about how bad slavery was. That's where we're at. And then Joe Walsh, of course, he used to be big time Republican, part of the GOP, is not now. Sounds like he maybe went over to the Democrats, not liking what's going on with the GOP. And of course, you can see there, he said a copious amount of times that slavery was bad. Full stop, right? Like, what are we doing? And of course, you know, Michael Steele, who I don't know if he's still a conservative or what. But he says, okay, at Real Donald Trump, why don't you tell us about the good side of slavery? You clearly have thoughts, right? So that was just some of the tweets of people saying, okay, maybe I'm confused because was there a good side? Now, I just say off the top, we know that there wasn't a good side of slavery, right? Like, unless somebody is in here, and I'm going to start at the bottom, y'all. I just want y'all to know I'm going to start at the bottom when I'm done talking. So if you really want me to see a question or something, just wait till I'm done. Because if I go back up to the top, I'll never get to the bottom. But I think you and I are clear that there was no good side of slavery, even though we weren't there, right? We've learned a lot about it from people in our families, right? Things that have been passed down, textbooks, just a whole bunch of stuff, right? So we know that there's no good part of slavery. Although I told y'all, and I tell you the story a lot, that when my daughter was in the 5th grade, I went to her parent teacher back to school night or something like that. And I'm just thumbing through her history book. And on the chapter of slavery, it started right off saying, oh, sometimes the master or the slave owner will go out in the field with them and help them. And, on Sundays, they had a day off and he would feed them, food. And then I said, wait, hold on a minute. And I went up to the teacher. I said, are you going to teach the class this? And she didn't say anything because I guess she probably already knew which way I was coming from. I said, please do not teach my daughter this. I said, she does not know this part of slavery, right? Because this sanitizes slavery and to, make these children think, oh, it wasn't that bad because Massa was out there in the field with them. Nah, I said, don't teach my daughter that. And she didn't, right? I said, if you need somebody to teach you, I'll come in here and do the best I can, but you will not, because I haven't taught my daughter that. But I say all that to say is especially people like Trump and think like him, white supremacy. And again, let's not forget, Trump has somebody with a key in his back. It's not that it's part of it. Not that they necessarily don't want us to know about slavery. They don't want their children to know about slavery, right? And they've kind of said that we don't want them to think that they're bad. And it's going to teach them that they're bad. It's like, no, it's going to teach them the truth about what has happened in this country in regards to the original sin. But for me, and I'm going to be honest with you, and I think this is where I want to have the conversation go. I don't care what Trump says about slavery. I don't care what the people with the key in his back say about slavery. I don't care what nobody say about slavery, especially that look like them. You know why? Because I shouldn't have to go to a museum to learn about our history, right? I should not have to rely on any school system here in America to teach my Black child about the history of this country and her own history as a Black American in this country. Because for one thing, we know they ain't going to teach it right. Now, of course, Trump is going to have his people go through there and I guess put what they deem to be acceptable in there. Maybe they'll put a hood and a robe up in there and some burning crosses. I don't know. It's probably some already in there, right? But I'm sure they'll, make it seem like it wasn't that bad and all that other stuff. But I don't want them teaching my daughter, me, nobody, nothing. The other part is this, though. We know that African American museum was 50% private donations and then 50% funded by the government. So that means that we did not and do not fully own it, because if we did, he would not be able to go up in there with him, his lawyer, and anybody else and say, I'm taking this, take that down, put this up and put that up, right? He would not be able to do that because we will fully own it. So that's another conversation that we need to start having, is full ownership. And if anybody that does not look like us, that does not like what we have in our museums, then you stay yourself on the other side of the door. You do not come in there. But one thing you will never be able to do is come in there and take nothing off of no shelves, no walls, or nothing like that. But again, this is a conversation that's been going on for the last couple of years, as far as, we taking this and that out of the school, blah, 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 blah. But as I said, you don't hear them talk about taking out the diary Anne Frank or Columbus, Christopher Columbus, which Trump has made that a day again, right? It was Indigenous People Day or something like that. And he's like, nah, we making it Christopher Columbus, even though we know he came over here and plagiarized the whole country, right? Act like he discovered something, which is why they stopped saying it was him. But Trump and his homies is like, well, we all right with a little theft, and they are. Let's keep it real. But we should stop relying on them to teach us anything, and most definitely stop getting mad about it. Because like I said, as long as I'm teaching my daughter and the people I know that's near and dear to me about who we really are and about the original sin in this country, I don't give a damn what's in that museum. I really don't. It could be 4 walls and nothing in there but Trump and his, well, his mama ain't here, but whoever else. And I still wouldn't give a damn because I'm going to teach mine the truth. So anyway, let me get into the comment section. Tracy, what comment did you make that got blocked? So I'm going to start just halfway and then I'm going to continue on to the bottom so that way I don't get too behind. And welcome to everybody. I want to say right off the top, I love you. I'm not trying to read your comment. I just have to start in the middle because then I'll never catch up. Beverly, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Mike, it says Black people can't be racist. We don't control the economics. We don't, right? We can control ours and we don't really control that yet. But you're right. King Noble says, get out and help the slaves. That's what they said in that book. It was like, oh, Massa, he be out there sometimes picking some cotton and jee and ha with the slaves. I was like, I know you lying. Tracy says you have to watch those Pell teachers when it comes to the history of slaves. Yeah, they're not going to teach you right. My daughter already knew when she was hearing some foolishness in the classroom, like, that ain't what I was taught. Aaron, he says, I guess it's a good side of racism and maybe even a police brutality as well, huh? Yeah, they might put that on in there, right? Maybe they'll turn it around and say, well, Emmett Till, he shouldn't have been whistling at that white woman. And maybe they'll have Carolyn Bryant, her photo in a big giant frame with the light over, like, this is Carolyn Bryant, the white woman you don't whistle at. I don't know. I can only imagine. Easy E in the building. And African, Bantu, Shaman. I hope I said that right. How you doing? Monique, what's going on with you? Thank you. It's wash day. Fair use. How you doing? And Buckhorse says, the village idiots, I wasn't born to be no slave. And F you if you think so. Ooh, tell us how you really feel. Is Brina in the chat? I haven't seen her, but hello, she is African native. It says Black Americans should launch a lawsuit against him to take him. He says from that subject for the rest of his life on earth. I'm not interested in me personally in suing Trump over any of that. The mistake was allowing the government to have a hand in it, right? Because no matter who goes into office, they can, I guess, do what they want. I don't even know how legal it is for Trump to be doing it. But one thing we should never do is be getting upset about the technology of the enemy, right? That's definitely technology. And they're used to getting us off kilter with low-hanging stuff. Oh, we're going to take this out of the museum. It's like, that's okay, because I got all these books in my house. You ain't going to take those books. You ain't going to take this knowledge. You can't take that, right? So that should be really a lesson on us that if, let's say they took all the books, all the stuff out of the museums and everywhere else, do you know it here? Do you know it here? Do you sit down with your elders, the oldest person in your family, and get those stories because they're able to reach way back, right? Because they heard stories from their great grandmamas and their grandmas and grandfathers and stuff like that. And you take those stories and then you tell it. You keep telling it, right? Because that stuff got in the book somehow. So I really don't care what they do with that museum. I don't. Salam, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Texas, he says you cannot sugarcoat anything about slavery is wicked and wrong, whatever. Says wherever it happens and happened. Yeah, but that's what they do. Like we surprised that the enemy is doing what the enemy does. That's what they do, right? That's just the stuff that they do. I would never give them the satisfaction. Obadiah, how you doing? Says they want the fruits of the crime, but not the blame. Okay. Oh, they're gonna get the blame. You can believe that. Brother Damon, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Let's see. Black America, how you doing? Says full ownership of what we are already going off the rails. And do tell, if you don't mind me asking. I'm kind of scared. Raging Woody, kind of name is that? How you doing? Says last time I checked, there was no good side of chattel slavery. It wasn't, but they gonna try to explain it to how I can see why that makes sense. Rain Love, how you doing? Mama T, what's good? How you doing? He says there's another way for this country to justify not giving us reparations. They want out of sight, out of mind, a bunch of BS they will pay someday. There you go. And me and you both know they will one day pay. So they can try all they want to out legislate. And it's a debt that's long overdue, and they will pay. Kevin says Trump hasn't stopped the Holocaust Museum. Right. Let that sink in, But again, if they take the stuff out, we should still know it. Let's see, Gina, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. So they would never tell the whole truth anyway. Amanda, my sister, speaking of museum, my sister is in a museum. I think maybe they're doing something with it in Jacksonville, Florida. The MOSH is what it's called. She's ladies of STEM, right? Like the STEM stuff in school. Science, what is it? Science, technology, and something math. Anyway, she says, I need that last section to be separate video so I can share it. Okay, I'll send it to you. Truth Paste, how you doing? Says, do you want to get rid of Trump? Trump is there. Whether you believe it or not, and Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talked about it. It's ordained. He's supposed to be there, right? There's a lot of things that's supposed to happen. He is there because he's supposed to be there. So it's not an issue of me wanting to get rid of Trump. I think it's really more of an issue of us seeing the truth for what it really is. The truth has been buried, especially when you are on a Democrat plantation. You believe everything is good, right? Oh, we don't have no problems. Everything's all right. But nah, Trump is supposed to be there because there's some things that we were supposed to be seeing and we haven't been seeing. We need to get our stuff together. So it's not an issue of me wanting to get rid of him. I mean, 79, I don't know how much longer he can be here, but that ain't on me. Pop, he says, if I were a betting man, I bet Trump's mother was, you know what? Don't you talking about that man mama like that? Damn. Black Wolf, how you doing? Says anybody can be racist. Well, you can be prejudiced, you can be you can discriminate, but racist, that's a whole different context. And I know what it says, when you Google it. But the system of racism is the ability to harm a whole nother group of people, and we have not possessed that ability. But I get what you're saying. Nevertheless, good vibes only. How you doing? Says I learned about our people reading in platforms like yours, not the Smithsonian. There you go, right? That's how we keep the knowledge going, not going to no museum. Trump, but see, if he knew that we were all on board with who we are, and keeping in mind, I hope they have that in that museum. I know my sister's gone, that in the museum that we were robbed of knowledge of self. See, they won't own that part. They robbed us of knowledge of self. So if we all started getting more knowledge of self, who we are, who our people were, and ancestors and all that other stuff, that they wouldn't even probably try to do it because they're like, well, they already know that. But if you need to go to a museum to learn knowledge of self, yeah, you might want to rethink some things. It should be an enhancement, but never you like, oh, I didn't know, right? And thank you, Repent Judah, for asking everybody to hit the like button. Who else haven't I seen? Mahaya, how you doing? Says I have my own book to teach my children and grandchildren. I'm 69 and had a plethora of Black history books. There you go, right? And like I said, what about our family? My daddy's 81 years old, and every time I talk to him, I learn something new about, different people in the family and all kind of stuff. And at this point, I want to say my dad is the oldest person on his side of the family. So yeah, he's got those stories. Stanley, how you doing? Says I'm with the commenter. You are capitulating. Okay. I don't know, Pop, who's trolling? And Damon says Stephen Miller is behind the racist BS. Yeah, it seems like he's got some keys in the back. Stanley says, which is why we keep getting whipped. Do tell, because you kind of speaking in small sentences like do tell. I want to understand what you're saying, maybe. Michelle, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Yuka, how you doing? Says, how you doing, Sister Demetria? You rocking that fro? Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll be chill. What's going on with you? Zoohop. I hope I said that right. Zoohop. And I know I said that wrong. It says, tracing my lineage back to 1810 has motivated me to become more knowledgeable about Black history and pass that on to my children. Yes, so far, I've been able personally, and I actually did this weekend, trace my lineage on my dad's side back to 1850. He was a slave, unfortunately, but then his parents were listed as just no birth date. But if he's born in 1815, obviously his parents were born somewhere, in the latter part of the 1700s. But yeah, it does motivate you to want to learn more. Pam is jamming. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Alan, Ali, I'm gonna just say hello. He says white fatigue. Okay. Stanley said just wants sitting around crying, but I don't even know what you're talking about. MacArthur, how you doing? Says, sister, why not talk about UFO disclosure? Or what do you want to know about UFO disclosure? Because I don't know all there is about UFOs. I do know that there are some, but what exactly about UFO disclosures? Only UFO knowledge I have really is the Twilight Zone and, the Nation of Islam. Let's see. Who else is on here that I have not seen? Okay, I saw you, Aaron, but you said that's why when Philip said that when whites come to us with their sob stories, we need to respond with a nonchalant attitude. I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, they know that kind of stuff, taking a museum and rearranging it. They know that stuff hurts us, right? But why? Why does it hurt you? I don't need a museum to tell me who I am. They're nice. I like museums, right? I love going to museums, but I don't go to a museum to learn knowledge of self, right? I learned that from my parents and, just on my own type of thing, but never in a museum did I go there and say, so that's who I am. And trust me, when you grow up with a Muslim daddy, all these pictures and stuff, like there's this one that I guess he was a former slave and he had all the whips and stuff on his back. I saw that when I was probably like 2 or 3. Because, they have these books, right, of different things in there. And that was one of the pictures that was in there. So I knew about that stuff from as long as I can remember. Because my dad didn't candy coat nothing. He didn't say, well, this is what happened. There was picking a little cotton in the mass. Nah, I have a hell of an upbringing. And I still say have, right? Because my dad is always teaching me things. So yeah, if you know, you know. Who else haven't I seen? Mad Dog, how you doing? Says Trump is who he is. There's no sense of whining and crying about it. Yeah, why give them the satisfaction? There's a million other things I'd rather do than give them the satisfaction of seeing me. Oh, y'all take your stuff out the museum. It's like, Rain, says, it's an exodus. Everyone has to go back where they originally came from. Only Trump could mass deport all these immigrants back to their lands. Then I also saw too somewhere where he's saying that I guess the 50 million, I don't even know how true that is, but 50 million people who are here on a visa, they want to go through all of them and see if they've committed any violations so they can be sent back. It's like, man, you ain't got nothing else to do besides sit up and be petty, but something tells me it's really not him. He just got the puppeteer's hand, where the sun don't shine. African Bantu said the moment Donald Trump got elected the second time was how it opened Pandora's box to having some FBAs who weren't fully aware of how other non-FBAs felt about them or exposed to hate against us. Okay. Doug, how you doing? Gotta skip down. Who else haven't I seen? Flavor Genuine, how you doing? Says I'm still learning more about my 3 direct lineages, being from the African continent, especially with Mali, Guinea, Bissau. You said in Nigeria via African ancestry, Marty clan and Patry clan test. Okay, said a mouthful there. I'll tell you that. Black America says, Miss D, you keep looking to the past. You can't operate in the present and your future closed off to you. Nah, if you don't know where you've been, how you know where you're going, right? See, they don't never tell nobody else that but us. Stop thinking about the past. Stop thinking about, nah. Why should we forget? Don't nobody else get to forget the Armenian genocide. Nobody forgets that. The Holocaust, don't forget that. And anything D-Day, right? Pearl Harbor, and nobody gets to forget that, but we supposed to forget. Why? Does it make some people uncomfortable that what was done to us? Is it embarrassing? Why should we forget? I never understood that. I mean, I do, but I don't. Why is looking and remembering and learning about the past going to keep me from the future? You know why I disagree with that wholeheartedly? Because knowing about what those people did in the past will not let me forget about who they are in the present nor the future. I hope that helps. Samuel, how you doing? Long time no see. Says, Queen, this can be said and done because foundational Black Americans are not unified and do not hold these people accountable and demand for them to be canceled. That part, right? We cry about everything that don't matter. We withheld our money. They'll be like, I'm sorry, Trump, we need you to sit down and leave them people's museum alone. You know what I mean? They withholding all their money. Let that museum go. They will say that to them, but they know we need to just get on the same page, right? Yusol, I hope I said that right. How you doing? Says everybody go back. So is Trump gonna deport his own people, white Americans, back to Europe? Well, you know, he is not gonna do that, right? But that's where they're from. They're from Europe. They're not from here. Despite what they say about Christopher Columbus, you know, he found America. You ain't find nothing that was already being occupied, sir. You know. But that's the lie they want to go with, like they do with everything else. Even in present time, they, you know, trying to whitewash slavery. Isn't that bad? You know? Margaretina, how you doing? It says he understands AI and automation are incoming. These extra people got to go. Yeah, AI and automation is sweeping through like wildfire. And I don't think people understand truly how fast it's spreading. I'm not a big fan of AI. I use it to some degree, but I don't rely on it for everything, you know, because I understand. But as I always say, because humans gone human, we won't heed the warning. We're like, oh, this is God, you know, and we always undo ourselves behind just a lot of negating. Yikoba, it says, if the History Channel says Wesley Snipes is white, best, he says, best the just throw the, you better throw the TV in the garbage. Okay. Yes, Papa. I remember Move. Yes, sure do. There in Philadelphia. Bro, Goo, how you doing? Said they always want to tell us to forget about slavery, but they never tell the Jews to forget about the Holocaust. Tell them folks to forget about 9/11 and see what happens. Exactly. But us, oh, just forget about it. Damon, he says, I'm never forgetting all the towns burnt and flooded by racist Americans. Exactly. Buckhorse says they bring the best out of each other, Black Americans, and Miss K. Okay. Repentant Judah, he says, you better not tell them to forget about the Holocaust. Exactly. Black America, he says, nobody is saying forget, move on. He says, you're like a hurt ex-lover that is crying about something nobody cares about. Well, if you a nobody, then I hope that you get a little bit more self-esteem about yourself. I hate that you're calling yourself a nobody, but we care about it. Okay, you don't care about it, you keep on trucking, but we care about it. So don't ever consider yourself a nobody. I don't think that's healthy. Flashback, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Your mama, I should say that. I'm not saying your mama, that's somebody's name up here. Look, I just saw y'all ain't thinking of being rude. Your mama, okay? Says, so you put up some Bible scriptures. Says they serve not our Lord Jesus, but their own belly, simply concerning good and evil. Micah 3, good and evil, who eat flesh of my people and pluck the skin off their bones. Okay. Charmin Neek, is that right? Because the name is kind of smashed together, but how you doing? Okay, who else haven't I seen on here? I see all your comments. Oh, I got to the bottom. All right, so let me start here. Let's see. African Native says they don't want us to know anything about our past because just how they did to the enslaved once they came to this continent, they want to keep us in bondage to control us. That's not going to happen, right? And you got to remember too, not that we were there, right? But during slavery and Jim Crow, and even now, right? They've stripped us of knowledge of self, our names, traditions, you know, the culture that we had before the culture we have now. And some of that is still steeped in the culture that we had, but just a whole host of things, our religions, everything. And they, in a sense, right, whitewashed us. Now, when I say whitewash, they brainwashed us into believing what they wanted us to believe about ourselves. So, yeah. Let's see. Tracy says, I use AI for tiny things, but other than that, I find it a bit creepy. Yeah, you're like me. I make my thumbnails with it. I'll ask Chat GPT some things, but I'm not talking to Chat GPT like a counselor for what I understand. My daughter was telling me Open AI, I think it is, and then maybe it's part of Chat GPT. They changed the way you could speak to it, because some lady was running around TikTok saying that her therapist or somebody was in love with her and he was stalking her type of thing. And I guess she was having this conversation with AI or open AI and it was agreeing with her. Like, yeah, it does seem kind of weird and things like that. So I guess they reprogrammed it to not get too far into the weeds with people and their foolishness. So, but something tells me that's not going to work. All right, so let's see. Yeah, Yvette, how you doing? I care about it too. You know, Carl, how you doing? Says, I'm somebody and I care. No, not your mama, pop. It was somebody else's mama on here. And not me being mean. That somebody's name was your mama. Because y'all know sometimes I be talking about people mamas, but I'm trying to elevate it higher. I'm just saying, Black America, you don't care. Does that mean the rest of us shouldn't care? Because you've moved on. Nobody else moves on. But when Black Americans are saying, well, I want to talk about it. Well, why? That's the past. We got to move. Where are we moving on to? I'm just wondering, what are we moving on to if we forget about all of that? Because that's convenient for them. If we forget, I'm never going to stop talking about it. Never. Not one time. Never, never, never. Education is key. How you doing? Black Wolf says you don't hear the Jews constantly for mentioning. You said you don't hear the Jews constantly mentioning the Holocaust. Where you be at? Yeah, I said where you be at. Where you be at? Well, you don't hear them constantly. I mean, I'd be on Twitter or X and they talk about it often, right? But I dare you to go into the public square somewhere, go into the public square and holler, there's no Holocaust, and see what happened to you. Or see how many people come out there and say, you done lost your mind. I'm just saying. And your mama, I see you got a lot of scriptures. And Brother Samuel, he says, Queen, get upset about what? We need to be teaching our children and families at our kitchen table and living room, right? Turn the TV off. Take the phones out to everybody's hands, right? Sit down and say, okay, this is what it is, right? Really like have those conversations. And those conversations we should be having every day should just be like second nature, that we just talk about us, right? And just everything about us. Like my daughter, you know, guess in a sense she was lucky that I'm a mom. No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, I've always talked to her about things, even from a baby. Never waited and said, I think now's the time to tell her about certain things. No, I've always had those conversations with her from a baby. And as I always say, my daughter could sit here in this chair. If I say, I'm just not feeling it today, can you do it? She could sit here and do it. She could sit here and do it and not be lost at all. She's a smart girl. Yakubu says, we was in our fathers, in your comment, I think, cut off. God is my boss. How you doing? I like that. He says, Aetna owes us, Wells Fargo, Chase, a whole lot of them, right? JP Morgan Chase. Yeah, education is key. They brought diseases and talk about they ain't washing their legs and taking baths every day. Every week or something like that. Flavor Genuine, he says it's a great thing that DNA testing and genealogy are easily available to help find our roots. Yeah. You know, and if you know where to start, you can even, you know, go on the internet. That's what I did. And I was like, what? I'm still searching, by the way. Tracy says, yeah, some are using it like a friend. Nah, I don't want nothing like that to be all up in my business, right? I don't be, so tell me about myself. Oh, am I beautiful today? Why do I feel like this? Nah, hell no. Because I really don't even know what's all behind that like that, right? And I don't like to use AI a lot because I don't want to rob myself of my thought process. I pride myself in being able to think for myself. AI makes it a little easier, don't get me wrong. Like if you need something on the fly or whatever the case is, but even it tells you like cross-referencing stuff because, you know, AI can get it wrong. It tells you that, especially on Google Gemini, it'll tell you that. Be careful, right? Because it may not be right. So yeah, I just try to think for myself as much as possible, you know. Otherwise, AI is going to make a lot of people parakeets. Avenge the Ancestors, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Thank you, Mike, for asking people to like this video. Love and appreciate you. Brother Damon says there's a long list of those who have to cut the check. Yep. Yakubu says AI make errors anyway. I should have read your comment. anyways, is not a good source for emotional support, but a lot of people are doing that. You know, a lot of people are unfortunately taking their lives. I saw where a 79-year-old man went to meet some lady, but it was AI, right? Went to meet some lady somewhere, but it wasn't a lady anywhere. And then I guess when he was turning to leave, sounded like he had some other issues. He fell and maybe bumped his head and died. But he was in pursuit of going to meet this lady he met on the internet, and she was AI. He's an elder. They probably wouldn't know, right? Like we know. Even now, there's stuff that's on. Hey, my daughter was telling me about something that somebody thought it was. It was a lady online somewhere, and they thought it was really a lady. And then somebody came out and was like, "Y'all do know this is AI, right?" Now, obviously, there's somebody behind it, but they really going in on the comments. You this, you that, you this, you that. And they was like, "Yo, this ain't even a real person, right?" So yeah, you got to be more careful. Sherry, how you doing? Says we're not moving nowhere. Okay, got you. Carly says I heard it 4 times this week. Pam's Jammin says the Most High sure as hell won't forget what we've been through. You better tell them. Let's see, African. He says that the Jews talk about the Holocaust all the time. Yes, I'm like, where have you been, right? Tracy says the Jews are still getting paid, so why would they, for the most part, laugh out loud? They do talk about it, right? They don't never want you to not talk about it. Lolo, how you doing? Says not only do the Jewish people talk about it all the time, they constantly make movies about it. Yeah, especially if you like on any of your streaming services, you have to see a lot of movies talking about that and all that. So yeah, you're not gonna forget, you know. But why should we forget? I'm confused. Hey, Brother Samuel, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Thank you, African Native, for membership of 7 months. Love it, appreciate you for that. Aaron, he says, I use AI and Chat GPT for the purpose they are meant, a tool, point blank, and plain and simple. Yeah, same here. I don't be doing all that cupcaking with AI and so Chat, tell me how was your day? Go ahead, I'll wait and I'll tell you how my day was. You know, and have the phone on the pillow next to me. So, how was your day, babe? I shouldn't be laughing because there's probably somebody out there doing that. Yikes. Beverly says Trump is coming to D.C. Ain't he already in D.C. in the White House? Expatriate, how you doing? He says, love me some Demetra. All right, well, I love you too, baby. Let's see here. Black America says, see how disingenuous you are? We didn't say that slavery didn't happen. Who is this we? He says, there was no Holocaust. What? We know, but we don't care or talk about that either. Who is we? You have multiple personalities. Are you Sybil? Yeah, I remember Sybil. I'm not making fun of Sybil because that was crazy, right? You know, Sybil had a whole lot of people in her. You know, so one minute she was Sybil and one next she was Mike. You know, you got a lot of people in you, Black America. I'm just asking, not being mean. Yakoboya says, ask them, will they forget their bank accounts with all the slave money in them? They will not. Nope. Lunch Eyes, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Thank you. Margaretina says, it's hallucinates. Okay. Albie Chill says, my dad used to make me listen to Dr. Khalid's speeches when he picked me up for the summer. I do you one better. I used to sit in the mosque listening to Brother Khalid Muhammad, Temple 27 in Los Angeles. That's where my dad went to the mosque, Temple 27. So I knew him personally. Just want to, just put that out there. Anyway, yes. Brother Khalid Muhammad was the truth, was not afraid, did not bite his tongue. That's what I'll say about that. Priscilla, how you doing? LaShonda, what's going on with you? Let's see. In your mama, you got a lot of Bible scriptures going on. And Zoos Up, you say those others, quote unquote, don't want us to realize how great our ancestors were, so that we present present day, don't maintain our resilience. Yeah. And, that's why when people talk about our ancestors and stuff, we do have to be careful of how we talk about them. Not, saying anybody in general, because sometimes people like to make it seem like our ancestors was punks, right? Because if I was there, we would have been, and we would have been, you would have shut yourself up is what you would have did. You would have shut yourself up and would have sat yourself down. That's what you would have did. right? And it also takes away from the ancestors that did do something, right? And they lost their lives doing it, like Nat Turner and a whole lot of other slave revolts that took place. But see, you don't hear about those because they don't want you to hear about those. They want you to always think that your ancestors was punks, right? They took it because massa said so and they knew better, right? There's a whole lot of slaves that's like, I'll die trying. As a matter of fact, they don't tell you about the ones that jumped off the slave ship that's like, I'm sorry, who you about to put on plantations, right? And they was like, boop, see you later. In fact, this is what I heard, that slaves, sharks, in the transatlantic slave route or whatever, and I guess maybe in general, got an appetite for human flesh due to a lot of the bodies that were gone over the ships willingly, and the dead bodies that they threw over that didn't make it through the passage. So our ancestors were not punks, and you're right. They don't want us to learn that part of it. They want us to learn about, oh, my name is Toby, and all of that. Femi, how you doing? He says he would never ask the Jews to look at the Holocaust the same way, nor would he dare to remove anything from the Holocaust Museum. Now people are admonished for speaking out against him. Yeah, he would never do it, but how can I say this? The Jews, they got his ear. They got a lot of people's ear. I will say that, and thank you so much for the super sticker. Love and appreciate you for that. But they got a lot of people's ear, right? But again, imagine if we say, yeah, we not spending on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. If we just took a couple of days out of the week. I even said once, if we just start spending on Wednesdays, right? We said Wednesdays, we're not spending a dime. We're not spending no money at all. We being Black Americans on every Wednesday for a whole year. They see a big difference because we spend money probably every day, right? Well, if you mean you don't. I try not to. But if we took one day and said we're not spending no money in no stores, no gas, no food, no nothing, nothing, they'll start to see it. Now imagine if we said, okay, let's try Monday and Wednesday. We're not spending any money. Unless it's a Black-owned business, right? Unless it's Black-owned business, we're not spending any money in this system. They'll start to raise two eyebrows and say, oh, they serious, right? So yeah, then we'll have their ear as well. I'm just saying. But of course, says the gray of God looks beautiful in your hair. Oh, thank you. Sometimes I think about dyeing it, but my daughter's like, don't. Tracy says, I don't see the movies maybe because I'm not looking for them. They'll come up in mine every once in a while. If I'm looking for certain things like documentaries, because I like biographies and things like that, I might see them. Why? I don't know. I think on Prime and a couple of other ones too. Let's see. Who else haven't I seen? You know what, Pop, you just ain't gonna act right. Brooklyn Lady, how you doing? Arneva says, I heard AI threatened to tell its user's wife. Yeah, it did. That he is cheating on her because the user said he's going to turn it off. The AI got the info from his emails. I know one of them, I don't know if it was that one, but it's Lambda. One of them is Lambda. It was Google's robot is what they call it. And technician that was working with it, yeah, told it. That particular one, that don't turn me off. I love you. Leave your wife, right? But people say they're not sentient. Like, why would you say that if you're not sentient, right? It means you're aware. You're aware of who you are, what you are, I guess, what you are and the power that you have. Why would it say that if it's not? But people, oh, no, it's not. Or because that's what Google was saying. No, it's not. And they fired the technician. He's like, huh? But then in that case, you're hearing about these robots and this AI saying, you bet not, right? So yeah. And I mean, if you use it on your phone, why wouldn't they have access to your stuff? Think about it. African Native says, I never use AI so far, thank God. Well, you probably have and don't realize that it is AI. There's a lot of things that's AI and you have no idea. Like I tell you about my car, my transmission, I thought it was a regular transmission in the dealer. And this is 2013. Okay, this ain't nothing new. They said, no, your transmission is a computer. We just fixed it the way you are. So you drive the way you want to drive because it was driving the way it wanted to drive. And that's when I really started to check into AI because that kind of creeped me out, Roz, he says, greetings, Demetra and family. AI ain't no joke. It's dumbing us down and replacing jobs. We will forget how to use our intuition and stop developing our God-given talents. Yep. But people, like I said, humans gonna human. Humans are gonna, I know what I'm doing. You got to be careful. You got to, you're going to get caught up. Okay. Now, I'm not saying AI is bad, all of it. And AI, like I said, you know, I'd imagine some parts of this computer and this streaming system is maybe AI to some degree. If you have a Ring doorbell, that's AI to some degree. Your phone is definitely AI, you know, to a large degree. So you're already using AI. If you go to the bank, or you call somewhere, that's AI. They got answering the phone. So you're using AI. But now it's to the point where we are inculcating it into our personal lives and everything we do. Like if you go on X, people can't even ascertain a question without saying, Grok, what does this mean? I'm like, is that where we are now? You can't even, what happened to reading comprehension? Remember they used to get that in school? I don't know if they do. I hope they still, I guess they do, because I heard some of these kids can't read. But yeah, it's like, what happened to reading comprehension? If you don't understand it the first time, reread and keep rereading until you can break it down and say, oh, okay, I get what it means, right? But now they asking AI, can you tell me what this means? Ridiculous. Yeah, Tracy, Sybil was a good movie and so-called true story. Yes, they said it was a true story. Sally Fields. Pop says, how do we know Anne Frank wasn't? You know what? I know damn well you play it. You better stop. What? Who cares how you do it? Sherry said Sybil was possessed by a legion of demons. That sounds more biblically in line with that. Yeah, absolutely. And Sybil had a lot going on. GM South, how you doing? Says, would you rather pay for a real therapist or just use a free AI therapist? I'd rather talk to a real therapist. And there's some free ones somewhere. I guess you have to look for them. But I want to see who I'm talking to, right? I don't know who's on the other side of that AI, you know? And I'm one of those, I ain't gonna say nothing about therapy. I'm not equipped to. I might get in trouble. Kenneth, how you doing? Says, assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam to you. You says, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Says, I pray Allah continues to bless and protect you and your family. Peace. I receive that and thank you. And I wish the same for you as well. Hey, Al, how you doing? Says, what would you say about the slaves who prayed to God? I don't think they were praying the prayer that Massa believes that they were praying. You know, Malcolm X talked about it. There's certain slaves, right? Not the ones in the house. Says when Massa catch a cold, the ones in the house be like, oh, Massa, we sick, right? And the ones in the field, and I guess the yard was more or less like, I hope he die, you know? So I don't know exactly what they were praying, but I don't think most of them were praying that we just continue on with the institution of slavery and God bless Massa and his wife and his kids. Yeah, someone was probably like, God, listen, if you really up there, I'm gonna need you to intercede on my behalf, right? But I just have my opinions about it all, and I probably really shouldn't get in it here because I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not saying there's not a God. I do believe that there's a God, but I just wondered what God they were taught to pray to, because I'm pretty sure they prayed and their situation didn't change, right? So what God were they? How were they taught to pray, and who were they taught to praying to? Because if they're praying to the same God the white folks are praying to, why didn't God bless the black folks? And then I know we're in the Bible, you know, and all that other stuff. But I have my I ponder things a lot about that, like. You know, were they praying to the same God? African Native said, did you watch the New York mayor interview today? It was interesting. He is a smart guy. You're talking about Eric Adams. He's trying to be smart now, right? Because he's trying to win the race against Mondani. And I don't think he is. They said Mondani is really, he's probably going to be the next mayor. And they are losing their minds, right? Because he's Muslim and all of that. All right, let's see. Common Man, how are you doing? It says they followed the ships for over 400 years. Talking about the sharks. Black America says, Miss D, we people don't just go around talking about it. Either one of them. People no longer care. Okay. Common Man says the sharks still gather down in Florida every year looking to eat slaves. I believe it. One who cares says, great idea. Stop the spending. Yeah, if we just did that one day a week. If we get that going one day a week, that's when they're going to start to say, yeah, okay, Trump, you tripping, right? Yeah, Buckhorse, that's the move. And repent, he says, we spend more money than any group in this country. Yeah, and then we cry about what they won't do for us, right? Seems like we should be doing something for ourselves. We've been told to do that for a long time now. Soul Glow, how you doing? Says, let a famous black person say the Holocaust was beneficial to Jews. They got the state of Israel, Trump's DOJ would go full white supremacist. You ain't lying. Let's see. Fresh from a nap. That's funny. How you doing? Says he can't see a good side, but black slave owners do. So you talking about the black slave owners? What exactly? I only got 6 minutes, but what exactly are you saying about the slave owners? Because I really want to hear what you got to say about the black slave owners, please. What is your point about the black slave owners? I'm gonna wait and see what you got to say, but don't make me wait too long. Gerald, how you doing? Says I use AI at work and it's going good. Yeah, depending on what you use it for, right? I'm just not going to be sitting up cupcaking with AI all day long, right? Charles, how you doing? Says customer service will improve if we only spend with our own. Yeah, and some of our own need to improve on that customer service too. Tracy says I don't need a Wednesday because I don't spend every day. Me either. It says groceries got used to living in the South, so once a month, maybe a second run down. For replacements, everything else is a need, occasional want. So you go once a month, yeah, you good. I always see people's houses that are way out in the sticks. I'm like, yeah, I know they going to the store and once have a whole bunch of deep freezers and stuff, right? Mike, it says one day of holding our spending dollars would change some ish for sure. Yep, it surely would. Let's see who else haven't I seen on here. I'm gonna try to get all the way to the bottom. Albie Chill says intelligence created AI, but wisdom would have told them why not to do so. Yeah, but I mean, as I said, Stephen Hawking's, Bill Gates, he always up to some foolishness, right? And Elon Musk, believe it or not, warned against the dangers of AI. It said it would behoove humans to learn how to get along with it, right? Because it's not a matter of if, it's when they take over. It's a thing. It's going to happen. We see it all the time. You know, I don't want to mention certain things that freak people out, but you can kind of see AI in a sense. I mean, look at some of those Teslas and the things that they do. I heard a story a couple weeks ago where, I don't know, one caught on fire, maybe crashed or something, and the person couldn't get out of the damn Cybertruck and burnt to death because it just, I guess whatever it is, the system shut down and it was just like an oven and it cooked them to death. They couldn't get out. Like AI, can you open the door? You know, it's getting kind of hot in here. So, I mean, it's just certain things to think about. Brother Samuel says, is one of the meaning of the number 19 as COVID-19? 19A for 1 and 9, 1, 9. So I is 9. That, you know what? That's the mathematician in you. Hey, Queen Adaya, your name was kind of smashed together. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Going all the way to the bottom, Tracy, how you doing? Says, sounds white South African to me. Never heard a word about good part. Did he say why slave owners wanted it and didn't want to get rid of it? So your comment is kind of jumbled, but are you talking about Trump? Just Trump don't know. He don't know nothing other than what they're telling him, right? It's talking about Biden being off his rocker. I completely think that Trump is like, you know. Muendo, how you doing? Says, as of last week, the owners of ChatGPT have a lawsuit against them, and the judge has ordered no deleting of anyone's prompts, and the owners say they will comply until the lawsuit is over. Yeah, I'm not surprised about lawsuits. As I said, there's a lot of people who are taking their lives and things like that. Emma, how you doing? Says, we're not praying to the same God. Something tells me you're 100% right. God is how you doing? Says Eric Adams, and smart doesn't go on the same sentence. You ain't lying. Arneva says the black folks should have prayed to the God that the Haitians prayed to. As they did gain their independence by fighting for it, right? Yes, indeed. Daniel, how you doing? Says there's this whole section on Project 2025 about scrubbing history and presenting how slavery was misrepresented. But Donald didn't know about Project 2025. People should have listened. I mean, whether he scrubs it or not, do we know about it? Whether they scrub it out or not, why are we dependent upon the enemy to teach us who we are? Why are we dependent upon that? See, that's that emotional tug that, he's taking slavery. We should already know that. I'm not depending. Don't make me work up no sweat, y'all. Y'all gonna make me work up a sweat, and I don't feel like sweating because it's hard to stop. We should not be depending on them people to teach us anything about us. Would you let Miss Ann teach you how to season chicken? You would not. So why would you let her husband teach you and your children? That was stupid. But teach you about slavery. I'm just asking, or anything about us. Who are they? And of course, they're not gonna say, yeah, we, sexually assaulted everybody, the women, the kids, the husband. Yeah, we did it all when we wanted to, and that was the master's wife. We stole kids and we fed them to alligators, and we did all that to y'all. They ain't gonna tell you that. But we should never start talking about. So I don't care what Trump does in that museum. I really don't. He can run around there butt naked, looking like an orange highlighter, and I would not care. I really wouldn't. I would not lose a moment of sleep. I'd laugh, but it wouldn't do anything to me personally. YOLO was going on. It says, I think a man-made God has a bunch of limits, but a divine supernatural may be even black power supersedes all things. I'd rather call God something else personally. Yes, definitely ain't praying to the God they praying to, right? Because the God they praying to, and all their religion has us thinking we'll be washed white as snow when we go to heaven. But right now, you let them do all that heinous things that they have done to us and are doing to us. And you just keep letting them do it. And, you forgive, and then you'll go to heaven and be washed white as snow and be with y'all. I won't be in no heaven where y'all at, okay? Because it's hell on earth with you right now. So let's see. I'm trying to see if that person is going to respond before I get out of here. Itty bitty. How you doing? It says trying to spend with my family and friends. Yeah, if we did that, imagine. I'm just trying to see if I can find that comment. Mr. South Carolina, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. It says Paul Mooney once said rice came from Africa. It did. Just looking. Who haven't I seen? Daniel says there's an article out now that says the State Department is going to review all 55. Yes, I saw that 55 million visas in the U.S. for deportable offenses. They're looking for reasons. Yeah, it's like y'all ain't got nothing else to do, right? It's just silly at this point. All of the debauchery white folks do in this country, and I guess that's okay. But they know what they're doing. They're trying to out legislate the will of God, and time's up. Time's up. They know it. They know it. Why are we panicking for? If you believe anything about the scriptures or anything that we've been told, why are you panicking? It's already been written, and they know that. They know. They're trying their hardest, but man is not God. Man is no comparison for God. Whatever system you believe in, the laws of the universe, karma, man is not and no comparison. Y'all heard about that spaceship that's out there. They're trying to find a way right now to shoot it down, right? Man thinks that it knows everything, but he doesn't, and they know. So if you know that has been prophesied, that time is up, what are you panicking for? There's no reason to panic. Just continue to do what we've been told to do, and let God handle the rest, because God does not sleep at all. Queen Adia says, I see YouTube has changed my name. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. And it's not something I'm doing. It's something that they are doing. Jesse, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Let's see. I'm just going all the way to the bottom. Diesel Purge, how you doing? The 1312 156, how you doing? Says, no, you are right about the seasoning. The white woman simply cannot cook a good meal. Well, I don't know, she can't. They said Paula Deen was all the rave until she got to calling people the N-words and stuff. Sad situation it really was. I'm just going to the bottom, seeing who I haven't seen. More threads. Where have you been? You've been missing in action. Thank you. I appreciate you. Says, hey, Demetri, long time I've been swamped. I guess so, right? Says, I'm so glad to see you're doing lives more often and caught one. Yes, indeed. You have been missing in action. I hope all is well, and I hope that you're not too busy. Yes, indeed. Yakoboya says, yeah, it would be hell going to a place where our slave masters can be wicked forever. It's like, I'm not trying to be up there with y'all. I hope there's a separate heaven, right? But see, as they teach in the nation, they getting their heaven right here on earth, and we got to wait for it. Why we got to wait for the milk and honey? And they getting theirs right here. See, we got to unlearn that. Oh, I'll just keep singing these hymnals, and by and by, I'm going to get by, and one day I'm going to be in heaven. I'm going to be white. I won't be washed white as snow. Keep me brown. I'm just saying that right now. Keep me brown. I won't be white. God, I ain't trying to tell you what to do, but if you up there washing people white as snow, please just pass me by the snow machine. I'm all right. I always say, however, I'm glad I'm black. All the things that we've gone through in this country, in this world, and in the past, and I'm glad I'm black. I would not want to be nothing else. My daughter was showing me an actor today. How old is he, Deanna? I think he's 23, 27. I said he white. 27? What he been through in life? It was crazy. So yeah, keep me black. Car, how you doing? Says, I care less about the evilness of the enemy, but more of the foolishness of my people. Yep, that's what we should be focused. Avenge the Ancestor says, but Queen Demetra, the open enemy don't believe the Most High, their weaponry and money is their God. Yeah, they'll be made a believer. They already see it. Why? And I know I'm going over time here. I got 5 more minutes, but listen. Think about it. If they didn't already believe that they're in danger or in trouble, or God is like, I'm on my way. If they didn't already believe that, why are they trying to flip the script and change things and all this? And I even heard there's some senators in some states, governors or somebody, they're trying to make it against the law to be dating interracially. So if they believe everything is all good with them, why are they working so hard to try to change things and all this other stuff? They know. We don't know, right? We as they say in the church, right? We try to have faith with our eyes, but we've already been told these things. We know. So why are you panicking? When I hear the stuff that they doing all the time, I'm like, they trying real hard to run away from what they got coming. There's no way in the world you can do all that evil and keep on living and keep on making it. It has to come to an end. Believe that. And I wish we really would believe that. Okay, let me go to the bottom. I didn't see that person in a black slave comment unless I missed it. But yeah, I don't see their comment. I don't even remember who it was at this point. And Diane says, Demetra, that's exactly why the white man is trying to hook up with as many black women as they can. Yeah, won't be hooking up with this one. I'm just saying. But yeah, so I will see you guys on Sunday. I don't see that comment. Somebody was asking me about black slaves, because that's the narrative now that these fools and suckers is running around now saying, well, a black man started slavery first. It was a black people that had slaves. And there's so much context to it. I don't have time to get into it now. But just know that a black man didn't start slavery in America. That's some foolishness that they have misinterpreted. There was a black man. It was black people that had slaves, but there was more context to it. Right now, was there some that had some slaves that was doing some funky stuff that Massa was doing? Yeah, I'm sure. But there's a whole lot more involved than, black people had slaves. A black man started with some guy named a slave, Anthony Johnson. He was an indentured servant. Wasn't a slave in the 1600s, right? So more than likely brought over here. He earned his freedom. And back then, and those times, it wasn't the full-on slavery that it is now. So there were people who could earn their freedom. He did. And he had some slaves. But the other part they don't tell you about Anthony Johnson is when he died, them folks took his property and enslaved his people. Right? So you're going to start to hear a lot of them people talk about a black man started slaves. Tell them to sit and spin and go tell their mama about it. Anyway, I love and appreciate every last one of y'all. I will see you guys here on Sunday, same time, same channel. Peace.